This is A-Game, an all-natural herbal dietary supplement formulated exclusively for men. Our proprietary blend was designed with one goal in mind: to improve your overall health, rejuvenating your vitality, energy, strength, and libido. Want to be at your peak performance in everything you do? Then bring your A-Game. Fast-acting, long-lasting, with no side effects.
Oh my God.
Welcome back, people. It's your man Ronan back with another one, and we're dealing with the military mirror. And in this week's edition, before I get into it, I want to say much love to you guys from A-Game Nation. Shout out to all my veterans across the board. Salute to everyone there, and all the subscribers, both new and old. You already know, hit the notification bell for future videos. Now, currently, I'm dealing with a cracked wisdom tooth, which may affect my speech a little bit and my mood. And dealing with a few ailments as far as with my knees. I guess that comes with the age of 46 and working too hard. Now, with all that being aside, I'm going to continue the mission and stay on point with why I'm here. There's always been an adage about home is where the heart is. And if you look at this space in many places in our life, both civilian and military veterans, a lot of us have to be honest with ourselves that in many aspects in our lives, even right now, some of us are virtually homeless. Some of them are physically homeless. All that aside, as men, because we intentionally lack agency, both on and offline in many aspects. This is what brought me to do this video. Now, I've entitled it Haunted Heroes. And the sole reason is that there are many veterans who can attest to being haunted by what they had to do to not only get through the battlefield, either in peacetime or war, to get to this point and try to reorientate themselves into what you call society. Or you have individuals who have left the military, came back here, everything seemed cool until they found out that their dwelling has been torn asunder, be it via Jody doing what he does, or some outstanding circumstances that rocked your world, be it physical injury, something going on with the family, or any incarnation of the lost value system. Now, I'm going to start with this space because seeing that it's been thoroughly ran by this system, you fully understand why things are the way they are. And this is why you look at such things like this. Sometimes, be it men from Martin Luther King Street to Wall Street, these 10 things are the sole reasons why our dwelling on this earth is a very challenging experience. In any place at any time, everything can be shaken up, be it our influence or outside of our control. See, this is why it's important to understand why this general order matters in this aspect. to take charge of this post and all my property and people in view. But before we go in that, we have to understand what dwelling means. A house, apartment, or any place of residence. And when you think of a place called the manosphere, to the outside viewer, you would initially think this is a place, this is a sphere of influence governed by men who are full of principle and purpose, using their masculine light to not only sharpen each other on every level as men respectively, but to lead a lot of men who are virtually homeless into the bosom of forward progression, success, a better understanding of themselves and what they're capable of. However, this is far from the case. One of the many reasons why we have ethnic outposts, which I promise I'm going to do a video on, versus actual thriving communities. Number one, because we lack agency. So let's look at agency for a little bit. The social science defined as the capacity of individuals to act independently and to make their own free choices. One's agency is one's independent capability or ability to act on one's will. Having more agency means taking responsibility for your life. Exercise the discipline to stop and pay attention and work on finding a better path for yourself. Now, I have to stop there. Because when you look around this space, and we talk about dwelling, number one, because so many individuals have resigned themselves to be cyberspace squatters, their communication skills are very lacking. The issue is because they have a habit or they've been accustomed to talking around, talking about, and talking behind rather than talking to each other and themselves in a constructive fashion. You will see these spaces populated, or actually infested with panel possums, water carriers, water boys. It's to the point where the dwelling of this space has been a rest haven for bitch-made dudes. I'll just have to say it. There's too many chatty patties out here. Too many tender dicks trying to bounce around and basically show their complete lack of dick discipline, dignity, ignoring their intuition, skewing their foresight. Individuals who like to use fornication without foresight, which is renowned as pump and dump, creating the very problems that they consistently and incessantly bitch about. That will ultimately affect the environment of not just, or the atmosphere, not just this space, but how we are viewed as men in the public sector. Far too many times, we have seen individuals who want to get out here in these nonsensical debates of punani politics, panhandling for panties, or PayPals or Cash Apps, whatever. And this is why a lot of things, as far as initiatives that we should be doing, that you see the women doing, that shows our complete lack of agency. Shout out to my brother Sheep Stay Sleep. So with that being said, I want to go further into the agency. When we lack agency, we lack the ability to act. Lacking agency can be somewhat depressing. If key contributors to the team lack agency, this is a situation that must be addressed with urgency, or ultimately these key contributors will become frustrated, marginalized, and unproductive. Now here's a stopping point. When it comes to revisionist history, you'll have a lot of cyberspace goofies who live their life vicariously in virtual reality versus actual reality. This space initially was created as a repository of not just rites of passage, men who were fired up about using politics, using their respective fields, crafts, information to help mold these, not just this space, but the men who were participating in it, put them in the trades, put them on the right path to regain their families, worrying about uh, creating a better legacy, working on their appearance, all the things that pertain to men to put us in a better light. However, you have individuals, again, who are worried about the antics of these 304s and all kind of nonsensical bullshit that does not need to really take our focus. We have a divided house. And if you have not noticed, over these decades, we've been literally getting picked off either by child support court, which ultimately sponsors childish support, but that's on another video. You're having basically law enforcement, certain elements of it, securing job security, at much to our detriment, via nonsensical laws, imprisonment, or basically reckless means in deleting our numbers as men. When we talk about agency now, especially in this space, we have been forewarned by a lot of men, letting us know, look, we have to have agency. We have to take care of each other. We have to keep each other on point. What? When you dismiss systems, order, and structure, this is what you see. A lot of haunted heroes. And I'm speaking to my veterans. This is why you get a majority of the solid veterans who sit aside and they tend to disassociate themselves from such spaces. Or if they do, it's very limited participation. They're too busy worrying about getting things done, being men of action, protecting their space, their peace of mind, looking at what they can do to contribute to not just help themselves, but if they can, a fellow veteran or a brother out there who's going through it. Which brings me to the point of dwelling. It isn't just a house or where you lay your head. I want to add this aspect, is who you surround yourself with as well. That's the undercurrent of this conversation. Everybody that claims to be family isn't family. If Cain took it upon himself to bust his brother Abel's head open, anything is possible. Every individual who has either served in armed forces isn't often a brother you can call yours or a sister. See, some people join the service to serve their own personal self-serving agendas. Far too many have shown that they've given the middle finger to actual brotherhood when they didn't have the UCMJ, the Uniform Military Code of Justice, to keep them in check. And even in there are individuals who are so rugged that under the Constitution, they chose to be insurgents that called you a brother, said all the right things just to get in close and slide that knife between their ribs. See, that's what really affects a dwelling. Far too many people trying to find significance in these groups that don't have proper system, order, and structure. They don't look out for the best interests of not just themselves, but the group involved. And what puts a lot of veterans on edge is when you aspire to use the information, the training, and the motivation you've gained from the service in many aspects, in the civilian theater. One of the most fucked up things you can run into are these individuals in your fire team who look to destroy not just the unit, but you too. So again, we talk about the lost value system where you see no detachment, no limit, no loyalty, no discipline, no fair structure, no peace, no standard, no loving support, no care, no truth. You can always say whatever you are. You can say you're a man. You can say you're my friend. You can say you're my wife. You can say I'm your brother. You can say whatever you want to. As always, what you are in here, your dwelling in here, will reflect the dwelling in your immediate area or wherever you go. And I'm going to say this bluntly. I don't give a fuck what you claim yourself to be. What dwells in here is going to ultimately show in your actions, words, and intent. If they're not consistent, you're full of shit. Male or female. So we already know. We've looked at the problem that is inundating this space and abroad. We see there's a lack of black male agency, poor health conditions, high incarceration rates, chronic homelessness, joblessness, lack of fathers, poor educational support, negative media portrayal, persistent barriers of wealth, and constant threat of extinction. This transcends beyond this space. We're talking about in real time. A lot of us cannot dwell amongst each other because we have a level of contempt with not just within ourselves, but those who look like us, those who aspire to help us, those who aspire to make a difference, but because you have your own self-serving agenda or your certain feelings about individual because they have more powerful ideas or they're more in tune to their gifts or whatever reason you have. This is why it's very challenging to dwell not just in the manosphere, but in this society in general. Because we refuse to address those issues that I mentioned that are often not only outstanding and unnecessarily growing in our presence, but the fact that we're willing to let these things stand to make sure the person next to us doesn't get one nickel more than we do. As a veteran, I've said this many times before, I wear these in public as a symbol of a lighthouse to let fellow veterans know or civilians know. I remember not just who I am, standing firm in what I am, but leading the righteous to either start a conversation for help or the unrighteous to stay the fuck out of my face. When we talk about the internal dwelling, a lot of us, again, are virtually homeless. Some of us roam among other people, unable to be who we truly are. You have individuals who are looking to assimilate any personality and get along to go along. But that leads to a spirit of contempt. Here you are being this social squatter. Hey, I'm just happy-go-lucky. Hey, whatever you guys do, whatever. You can be a yes man. You can be that ignorant malcontent. This is what explains a lot of the not unnecessary doxing, the trolling, all the stupid shit that other dudes will do for cheap attention to make this space remain as a piss poor digital version of Never Neverland. When we talk about dwelling, whatever happened to the necessity of the 4 Ps? What are you providing for yourself and the space around you? How are you using your masculine light in an effective manner? Where are the ideas, the supplies, the food, the finances, the clothing, the housing, etc.? Where are those things that we as men, as we're supposed to oppose environment, where are these key elements being shown in real time? You got to show me something in this space and abroad versus excuses. What about the problem solving? How is it that we lack the level of discipline to where we fail to conserve our time? We're unable to minimize the waste of energy and money. We're able to use our discernment to keep us out of confusing and chaotic situations, to preserve our peace. How are we protecting ourselves from harm when we're the co-conspirators of security breaches? We're allowing a bunch of chatty patties and water bearers, of bone carriers, to keep a whole lot of misinformation going, or to serve as cyberspace saboteurs to keep productive men, concepts, and ideas to being brought forward and to fruition. Individuals talking about catch a flight, talking about promoting violence, constantly, to the point where what happens when someone takes you up on your offer and you learn the true meaning of on-site behavior. Or you're around an individual who happens to be veterans, and we try to keep ourselves preserved in a level of peace of quiet. But you got individuals out here who want to test your manhood, knowing in many instances, military men, for the most part, are trained to fucking kill. Most individuals tend to ignore this switch that we really try to keep a solid control of. But once it's flipped over, this is where we stop giving a fuck. Your safety, your well-being, who you are doesn't mean shit to that individual. Only thing that can keep you on this planet, on this side of the dirt, is either God's will, and we'll say loosely law enforcement if they get there in time. What about the procreation? See, it's bad enough when you have veterans who, because either fucked up orders or how society tends to fuck with them in many ways, they get separated from their families, be it mental illness or whatever nonsense that happens with couples. And here you are messing with this individual who's trying to get on with his life or her life. Whatever happened to proper networking to where we can stop monetizing mediocrity and start creating generational wealth, breaking generational curses? Because the inability to do such things, that's why a lot of our demons are allowed to dwell rent-free, not just in this space, but here and here. And in doing so, that has created all these glass prisons where we see all these individuals, we can see their faces, we can recognize them, but they're slaves to procrastination, slaves to drugs, slaves to mediocrity. It really is disturbing to see these trash examples being set from in front of the youth or our peers who look to do something different, or even some of the elders who sought to pass something down to us and see us drop the baton and walk away from what we were supposed to do, what was supposed to be set in from our charge, and to create greater things to pass on. You have individuals who want to wear the loose mantle of leadership, but then they'll extend a middle finger and piss on genuine legacy. We're not talking about just family, but how they represent themselves. The standards they were supposed to leave behind when given opportunity to stand charge and stand in front of the peers in the time that we live in, and only perpetuate general curses, much worse than what we've ever been through. As much as we would like to see brothers dealing with the spiritual, the health, the family, the appearance and the dwelling, the internal five, which applies to all. And respectfully, I don't give a shit who feels some other way about it. If we do not take care of such things, the internal five, the external five are subject to corruption. Because you did not take care of the dwelling in yourself. The field day, who you are as a man, to unfuck yourself. So with all that being said, we've already recognized the problem. When it comes to the preparation, what we need to do is really take the time to have a healthy relationship with ourselves. Get off to ourselves if we need to. Address the demons we're going through head on. And start creating the building blocks to restore ourselves as men. Once we address those issues, we can work on a plan. We start with the individual first. Looking at who we are. Reorienting ourselves with our moral compass, our spiritual compass, getting ourselves right to move in the right direction. Surrounding ourselves with people who can help promote a proper understanding of where we're going, what we are meant to do, and to get the wheels turning, get the momentum pushing towards that goal, which leads to pursuit. We take every reasonable step, given leadership, guidance, and holding ourselves accountable. No more accountability dodgeball. Knowing that we'll fall short on many things, we're surrounded by people who will urge us to get back up and keep pushing. And then we come to perfection. And many of my veterans will attest to this. Smooth is fast and fast is smooth. And to break it down, when we sit there and did our training, when we started doing practicing drills, practice makes permanent. See, when you're able to create that muscle memory, not just in physically as far as your muscles, but mental memory, that moral memory. You start learning how things work, what things to avoid, and basically make things as smooth as possible for yourself and others. This is where we start making a difference from turning this cyberspace hellhole or social hellhole into a place where we can call home, a place where we can be proud of, a place where we look at each other and we have our respective differences, but you know what? We can make sure our money lasts in this community more than just 6 hours. We can start having things that we can create and call our own. We can walk around each other. And even if we don't, if we have the outright courtesy and respect it, if we don't feel like being around certain people, we can move on and move the fuck away. That way, with that level of thinking, we can stop becoming soft targets, not just in this space, but in life in general. This is where we start talking about things like self-defense, talking about things that pertain to us as men, not just creating legacies, but being willing and able and motivated to protect our respective legacies. Standing shoulder to shoulder with your brothers like we did in the military. And said, you motherfuckers will not gain 1 inch under our watch. Rugged individualism has been the bane of our existence. And I salute and Gray for saying this. We do need more, at least a soldier in every home. That's how you're able to protect and maintain one. When we talk about leadership, and you speak to any veteran that's worth the salt, not these shitbirds out here posing as heroes. You talk to any veteran who's about the right, he will instill system, order, and structure to protect himself and his people that he cares about. He will move in a certain way to make sure that they're okay, not just in peacetime, but wartime. He is the commanding officer. He will be that chaplain. He'll be that guide. He'll be everything he needs to be in order to make sure that that soldier and those under his charge are taken care of as best as his human ability. People he has already vetted that have been worth the time, the toll, the trouble, and the threat. As a means of vetting them out consistently, he no doubt knows he is protecting himself, making sure his time is worth it, making sure anybody that comes within his space and wants to maintain their place in this space, they're consistently going to have to be proven. That deals with their pros and cons. How proficient are they in being the people that they aspire to be? How is their conduct, not just in your space, but outside of it? That way, certain people have earned a promotion much closer to you, and they'll show an appreciation of said things. See, I'm just going to lay it on the line and say it. Every individual who might have served and has earned the title of veteran, not every veteran is worth a fuck. That's a veteran saying that. That's why we call individuals blue falcons, shitbirds, and what have you. Because they take in rugged individualism as a religion to the point where they're willing to exercise their religion upon other people who he can gain resources, time, and even other things that deal with his personal agenda. Some soldiers who you share a foxhole with, you have to sleep with both eyes open. And that applies tenfold in the civilian theater because it is every man for himself for the most part. If we're talking about dwelling, you need to be mindful who you allow, not just in your dwelling, but to represent your dwelling. If who you are with SOS, your adherence to the 4 Ps, looking to aspire to be governed by the 10 life values, if they do not reflect that, you have to be in charge of how you deal with that. Because I cannot stress that enough. It is a matter of life or death. Who you hang around with will govern your dwelling. I'm going to say in closing, we're all going to fade away from this existence someday in our proper time. But who you allow in your dwelling can also speed up the process or prolong it. So as always, if there's any questions, comments, put them in the comment section. Let me guys know what you think. Any topics, we can sit there, chop it up. You hit me at article75@gmail.com. or in the comment section, and we'll address it. But as always, never allow your comfort zone to become your coffin. To all my veterans, Semper Fi, all my brothers out there, and shout out to my brother Sheep Safe Sleep for saying this. We are our own agency. And recognizing that and protecting our agency as a collective, it'd be far more beneficial for us than without it. So I want you guys to be safe out there. Much love to you. And we'll see you soon.